think we'll go ahead and get started so we can all go home. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming here, and before they leave, because our troops are going to pull out first thing tomorrow, I just would like to give them one more hand and standing ovation. They're right behind here to say thank you for our road home. These guys just tirelessly worked literally day and night, 7 days a week, and it was very personal. As one of them said to me, finally we get to do something and not get shot at. And I thought, well, if you don't get the road open by December 1st, I wanted to thank one other person too, who's been my complete link to all things CDOT, and that is Miss Ashley Moore, right up here, who is one of their official spokespeople. And anytime you guys had all these requests, which I was getting across all social media and calling me and my cell phone and everywhere, I would send all those requests to Ashley, and I'll tell you, she really moved mountains to make sure you guys could have access to your home. So round of applause for Ashley. Back at you. So you probably noticed all the t-shirts that were for sale at the entrance, and the Mountain Strong t-shirts, actually from now until the day the road opens, the proceeds of those sales actually go to rebuilding some infrastructure within Pinewood Springs and within Big Elk Meadows. So please buy your t-shirts. I wanted to give you a quick update. If you guys haven't been into the community of Lyons, it's phenomenal how much they have rebuilt. It's incredible. And as you may or may not have noticed, the checkpoint during the day at the entrance of the town by the U-Pump-It station is gone during the day. And so at night, they still have that going for another week or so, but for all intents and purposes, Town of Lyons is open for business again, which is fantastic. There are still a few things that need to be ironed out. I do know that the school will be opening again very, very soon, right after Thanksgiving break. So our kids are going to move back from Longmont, those that are in the Lyons school system. And mail is still not quite ironed out yet. I'm being told that it's probably going to be another 3 to 4 weeks before we have our mail delivery again. I don't know that that's, the final answer, but that's what I'm being told right now. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that quick update. The other thing I just wanted to address, and I'm really glad, I didn't know I was going to be called up on the stage in the other room, but I just wanted to acknowledge again the fact that we have this amazing group of volunteers in our community who, as I said, are our first responders. And whether you're aware of this or not, they literally worked thousands of man-hours during the initial response to the flood. And many of them were there for a total of 12 days or so. And so I just think, although we gave them a standing ovation in the other room, I personally think they deserve one more. So I'd like to acknowledge our volunteer firefighters. So I'm going to hand this over to CDOT. They'd like to give you a presentation and give you another update. And there's not a lot to talk about there since we're getting our road back, but I'll hand it over to James Usher at CDOT.
Good evening, everyone. I'm James Usher, project engineer for the US 36 emergency repairs. Just wanted to take this opportunity tonight to introduce you to my project team, and then also talk about the major challenge that we were faced with as a project team. I mean, the damage that flood caused were extensive to the roadway, and in addition, talk about some of the repairs and how we went about solving and getting around that huge challenge. So it's also what I tell everybody, the project team for this has been the most interesting and impressive team I've ever had a chance to work with. And I say that because, I mean, there's so many entities involved. First, we have CDOT, both engineering and maintenance personnel. We had a group of maintenance that rotated once a week. So each week, a new group of maintenance would come in, volunteers from all over the state. Volunteers from Durango, Alamosa, literally every corner of the state, we had volunteers that come in to rotate and help rebuild this roadway. And then we had engineer personnel. Our engineer personnel, our inspectors, assistant project managers, also volunteers from all over the state to help get the roadway rebuilt. Like I said, just like the maintenance personnel, we got volunteers from Durango, Grand Junction. So just their efforts. I mean, first off, if you're on the CDOT project staff, please stand up, because I think you guys have made my job easy. So please stand up. I'd like to if we give them a round of applause. I truly say, I mean, people come up to me and say, you've done an amazing job, and I've been a very small piece to this puzzle. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, the progress that we made out there on the road would not have happened without these people. So thank you guys. You guys have been, a blessing to me for sure. And so, talk about, how interesting this team was. So we have CDOT personnel. Then you throw in the National Guard, and then on top of that, you throw a contractor into the mix. We had Edward Kramer and Sons. They came on board, construction experts to come help out and support for equipment, materials. In addition, I mean, just overall support for the project, and they really helped keep the project alive as well. So I'd like to thank them. And it's overall, you're looking at the Air and Army National Guard. You're talking four different states coming together to help rebuild this roadway. They touched on it during the dinner, but we got units from Colorado, Kansas, Montana, and Utah. And the challenge of it is it's not like they were all here throughout the entirety of the project. We had new units that were coming in every 2 weeks. Typically a project, you have one contractor that starts from the beginning and takes it from the end. So, I mean, having the fact that we're so far along in the emergency repairs of this project is truly amazing. The fact that you have every 2 weeks you have a new unit come in, and they'd have to hand over the keys to the next unit and keep that progress moving forward. So that in itself is truly amazing. So I'd like to touch on, right after the floodwaters subsided, and the initial damage of US 36. I had the privilege of being out. I wouldn't call it a privilege, but it's going out on the assessment team, and we got as far as we could on the top end and as far as we could on the bottom end of the canyon, which wasn't very far. And just to get to actually drive up and to a point where the road used to be, and the North St. Vrain or the Little Thompson River was right there, and it's just something that I've never seen before in my life. But just the areas where numerous areas where the highway was completely washed out. Very centralized locations. We had extensive damage just on the north side of Pinewood Springs from the Little Thompson. Several washouts there, and then you go through Pinewood Springs and you get down to about mile marker 11, and then we had another rough location from the North St. Vrain. Very cutting off Pinewood Springs altogether. In addition to roadway just being gone, and the river, the Big Thompson and the North St. Vrain flowing where a roadway used to be, we had areas where the embankment was totally washed out. You'd walk out on a piece of pavement, and you weren't standing on anything underneath. There's nothing supporting that pavement. There's been so much erosion. Culverts damaged, and some culverts completely washed out. Some culverts filled with debris on the roadway. So it was an impressive sight. We just go through. I'll show some of the pictures here as they're going through. As down here, that's the bottom end of the canyon. Instead, you just go around with complete washouts. So then I talked about, you saw the pictures and you saw the challenge that we were faced with, and it's like, how did, as a team, did we get together and start, kind of taking a bite at a time and trying to figure out how to get around it and get this road back into, a travelable condition. Right away, National Guard came in, and there were sections of the road that were completely wiped out. So what they did is they started from both ends of the canyon. We had a crew that started on the Estes Park side, and a crew started from the Lions side, and just started bringing in a bunch of fill material, importing fill material and reclaiming material, washed out material that was in the river, and just started working towards the middle and connecting the dots. And within a week and a half, the National Guard had a one-lane Jeep trail all the way through the canyon. And that's something right there. That's something right there. So once they at least had that one lane, and they could start, the construction process really started to pick up, and we got as many trucks into the canyon as we could. That was one of the major challenges the whole challenge of this project altogether is getting so much equipment into that canyon moving at the same time, and just the construction congestion alone, it was a hard thing to battle. Outside of that, it's just continue building up the embankment, and then prepping for asphalt, and that's where we're at now. We're going through. We got 2 lanes of asphalt all the way through the project. And we're working on putting down a second lift and getting to the point where it's going to last throughout the winter before we have somebody come in and do the permanent repairs for the project. It's kind of funny going through it all. We had CDOT crews working and the National Guard working at the same point, and Colonel Tran, he called it Task Force Green and Task Force Orange. So that was a very interesting dynamic of the project, and very neat to see. Just the Army folks combined with the CDOT folks and coming together and working towards mission completion. All right, so as you heard, it's reopening. The reopening is weeks ahead of schedule, thanks to the weather and the outstanding work of the CDOT maintenance crews and the National Guard, and also the help that Edward Kramer and Sons has provided. It originally was set for December 1st, and we're talking about opening this road Monday, and that is a true success right there. So, and with that, I want to say thank you to the communities. It's been a true privilege working with the residents that in and around Lyons, Pinewood Springs. The resiliency of all of you is outstanding. For some of you to have life's been turned upside down, houses washed away, or just being cut off from the world, having the highway that you drive to and from every day from work be totally wiped out, no way to get in and out, and come up, and have somebody come up to you and have a smile on your face and say thank you for what you're doing. I don't know how you can do that, but that's the definition of resiliency in my book. So thank you. And outside of that, it's like I said, we talk about the permanent repairs. More information in regards to that will be coming available, and how we're going to be handling the permanent repairs of US 36. As I said before, this is just temporary repairs. We wanted to get in there and make sure we can connect the lines to Estes Park and make sure we get the public up and down that roadway as soon as possible. All right. With that, I can take any of your questions. Yes, sir. Yeah, so his question is how CDOT's going to handle, or how connecting the private bridges from CDOT into the private residences, how we're going to handle that.
Hi, my name is Johnny Olson. I'm the incident commander. I'm going to step up here so you know, a lot of our canyons have the same situation where we got a lot of public roads and private roads that connect to our highway. What we're trying to do is work by getting our roads open. As soon as we can get our roads open, we can work in conjunction with OEM, FEMA, and everybody else to try to evaluate how we're going to do that. Right now, we're also asking our contractors, you know, the National Guard's pulling out, but we're also asking our contractors, if you're in there working and there's an access that needs to be rebuilt, it's been evaluated, FEMA's talked to you, that we will work with you guys on that. The responsibility is very difficult in a time like this because residents have already lost a lot of what they need. So we're trying to do the best we can as a department and work with the locals to help them as far as we can. It's a tough situation for everybody, and we'll do what we can, but it's going to be a long time before a lot of those accesses are probably rebuilt and getting the right dynamics done and working towards that permanent solution, because if we put something back in that doesn't hold the water in the future, there's a good possibility we might lose the road again. So we're looking at resiliency of the road. How are we going to prevent this from happening again the best we can? So there's a lot of stuff that has to go into this.
Yes, so her question is related to the first one, and it asked in regards to the height of the roadway now and how that's going to work with rebuilding some of the access bridges. Right now, some of the areas, the washout areas, we did the roadway elevation is lower. We did that in order to get this thing open as soon as possible. It's the amount of fill material it would have taken to bring the road up to finished grade would have really, dragged out project completion date. So that will be, and within the permanent repairs, they will be bringing up the road of the grade of the roadway, and that will begin the springtime. As far as the completion date of the permanent repairs, at this point, I do not know that. Yes, ma'am.
There's 3 areas where the road is very close to the edge. Are you going to be leaving those orange barriers or putting up cement barriers or narrow?
Okay. So what she asked is there's certain areas where the roadway's narrow, and there's some drop-offs. What we're doing in these areas, if we feel that if the drop-off is too drastic and it's a safety hazard, we are placing concrete barrier. In some areas, there's steep slopes, and what we're doing through there is during the temporary repairs, the speed limit will be reduced to keep speeds lower and make sure that the roadway's safer that way. Yes, sir.
The river appears to be wider than it was initially.
That's for sure.
During the permanent evaluation, we'll be evaluating, I don't know if anybody can spell this, but I'm going to try to say it. Fluvial geoformologist. So I'm going to give you the real term, a river engineer is going to be evaluating this during our permanent restoration. We're going to be looking at this road differently. We're going to be looking at how do we improve it? How do we make it better? How do we prevent this from happening again? And working through the ER process with the federal government and our state dollars, we're going to be evaluating what do we need to do with that river? Do we need to move the river? Do we need to redo our road? Do we need to straighten out some curves? How do we prevent this from happening the best of our ability? Mother Nature's a lot stronger than I am, to do it better. So in a lot of locations, the river might have to be moved. The river might stay where it's at. We might have to do something different. We might have to put structures in. We just don't know yet until we get into the full engineering evaluation. But we will have a better road in that location when we're done. I can't guarantee you where the river's going to be, or if it's going to be, if we got to put a bridge over something to keep the river where it's at, but that'll all be in the evaluation as we move through the permanent repairs.
Ma'am, in the back? Yes, and that's why we did put, oh, I'm sorry. So her question was, for the temporary repairs, are we going to plow the road? And the answer to that question is yes. That's why we're out there paving right now, to get a good surface to where we can run a snow plow over. Anybody else? So, very confident. My boss is 3 levels above me, sitting right here in this chair. So yes, the roadway will be open. Correct. Yes, noon. Noon on Monday. Noon on Monday, correct.
We should probably remind it.
Say it again, ma'am? Okay. So the question is what time they can come down on Monday morning, and there will be no access until noon on Monday. So, yeah, so our 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. hours will still stand, Monday morning. Yes. Local access, correct.
So can we come down, let's say we go up on Monday at noon. Can we come down at 2, 3 p.m.?
Roadway's open Monday at noon, so you can come and go as will.
I know you're not used to it, but you can.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Laura.
thank you. So all those calls I would make to Ashley, they would actually end up going to James. So all those special requests, you can thank him for those. So many of you have asked, what about phones? And we haven't, heard a lot in terms of what's happening with our communications and CenturyLink. So they are here to actually give us an update, and I'd like to welcome up Tammy and Bart from CenturyLink to tell us what's happening with that.
Yes. My name is Tammy Neer. I'm the Area Operations Manager. This is Bart Garner.
Let's let them speak, and then we'll do question and answer after. Let's give them a chance.
So again, my name is Tammy Neer. I'm the Area Operations Manager for CenturyLink in Northern Colorado, and I also have Boulder. This is Bart Garner. Bart is one of our field engineers, and he takes care of Longmont, Lyons area. Tonight, we wanted to share with you some of our restoration efforts that are underway. we have had challenges, and it's really good news to know that the road is going to be open on Monday. That means that we'll have access to be able to get in there and do the work that we need to do. For specific details on our engineering plans, I'm going to let Bart speak to that, and then we'll take questions.
So I'm Bart, I'm the field engineer for Lyons, Longmont, Erie, Frederick, Firestone, Tacona, and Tammy kind of underdid her area. She's got from Boulder to Cheyenne, Estes to Kansas, so I'm kind of localized, we got her spread out. Someday we'll let her sleep. He's got something to say, so let's let him get it off his chest and we'll go on from there.
All right, I will. We had the flood happen on September 12th. Okay? We didn't have any phone service until October the 20th.
Where do you live?
Pinewood Springs, that's what this whole roof is about. All right? Here's what happened. I got a bill a week ago from Century that included a usable charge, $65 for phone service, which I didn't have. You know what I got the other day? A disconnect. They're going to cut off my service to Century because I hadn't paid for a service I didn't receive. I paid the bill today because I didn't want to lose that service. But for 6 weeks approximately, I didn't have a phone service, and you're going to charge me for that non-service. What do you got to say to that?
No, we're not going to charge you.
Yes, you are. You just told
I
me
will
that
give,
you were gonna do that.
you have my word, you will get your money back and be credited appropriately. You will be credited appropriately. I can take your phone number myself and your name right now, and I personally will get in touch with you. I also, for everyone else, I have an 800 number that is set up specifically for victims of the flood that you can call. You're not going to get offshore. You're not going to go to a big call center and get lost in the mix. So I don't know if you have pens. I will give that to you right now. I can also leave it with Lori. She can email it out. Yes, ma'am?
So
So let me go ahead and give you this number, and I'll make sure that we have flyers, we have been in town, we've been at the FEMA office. Have we been 100% perfect? No. It's been an experience for all of us that none of us expected. The number is 877-908-9661. And anybody at the end of this meeting tonight, I'll give you my business card. You will have my personal contact information. It's 877-908-9661.
Let me help with this, too, just so we don't start a lynching. Why don't all of you guys all know how to reach me through mypinewoodhome.com. Any issues with CenturyLink, why don't you send them my direction? Let me deal directly with them so that there's one person, and then I'd really like to get them back to the topic, which is when will they have phones restored?
I got it. Okay. So I apologize for the frustration. Going to the business office and some of that stuff can be frustrating. And unfortunately, it's a large company with several million customers, and we can get lost in there. And to address the business office thing, I won't help you with that, not with the 10-foot pole, but I will help with the local service getting it back in. So I'll kind of walk you through what we did, and if you have some questions, I'll try to answer them. And Pinewood's a big thing, so that'll be kind of the second part of it. When we first got the flood, we got into town, and the city helped us get all the permits and everything so we could access. In fact, we got permits 6 through 10 to get in and get started with it. The first item was to stabilize the fiber, which was in the river, so we didn't lose what little we had running. We were able to get a generator up and keep the switch running. So we had the basics kind of for what was in town that wasn't missing. The next thing we got running was the police fire station area of town. And then, strange as it seems, the most tore up part of town we got hooked up next. It was just a logical piece to hook up on the south side. Then we kind of doubled back, hooked up the stuff in the new area on the southeast corner of town, the new area. We didn't lose anything pretty much north of the highway. And then the work started, which was, everybody knows where Planet Bluegrass is. I know we had some people up in the areas who were frustrated, but you have to work sequential, just like a road. Doesn't do any good to put a bridge in if there's no road to it. We're the same way. We started at Planet Bluegrass and worked our way up Apple Valley Road. And just for an example, inside of Planet Bluegrass, we spliced 8,800 pairs in that one little section. And we only count half the pairs, so it was done twice. 16,000 pairs just to get us to the river. And as you go, you test and look and find other stuff. So we got to the river, found out the cable was tore up under the river, had to get that dug out, and we had some technicians that waded in the river and pulled it up. Then we got up into Apple Valley, and there's twin feeds in Apple Valley, and anybody that lives in there knows the river swaps sides, Some of our stuff stayed, some of it got tore out. Unfortunately, what got tore out fed everything north of town. So we got that put back together, and then we started up through the Stagecoach area and up there. So we still have some issues up in Stagecoach and in Blue Mountain, all the stuff north of town of the Arch Bridge. And as people move in, that stuff will come out. So in our world, I kind of do the heavy freight. She has 1,000,001 things that come down the road with all the technicians and all the contractors that support us. So that stuff will probably be ongoing for months as we find out people got problems in their house, drops, all that type of stuff. So the core of the city went relatively quick, and luckily we didn't lose a whole lot of it. The outlying stuff, as you go south down 7, we have some stuff in the very far end of that that's still out, that they're going to start putting back. The other thing is the bridge on the highway into Boulder. We have some stuff we're starting replacing on that. We've kind of put that off to stay out of CDOT's way. We figured they had their hands full without us getting in there. So there's some stuff down there that'll start going up. So if you live on the road on the southeast end of town, that should start coming up pretty soon. A lot of miscellaneous stuff up the Stagecoach area. The main backbone in there is in pretty good shape. The heartburn we're having now is the Pinewood Springs, Big Elk area. So one of the issues is access. We got a technician that lives in Pinewood, 69 years old. He waded up the river on a Sunday, him and I did. I didn't wade, I told him I'd pull him out, but he had to do his own wading. He thought he could fix it, but it's tore up. Obviously, anybody that's seen the pictures, it washed the cable out of that. So we've set a microwave up there, and it hasn't worked like we wish. In fact, it's caused a lot of troubles. And we think right now, at this moment, it's down. So we've worked on it every day. We're going to put a temporary fiber from above, Sally's Cottages, Shelley's Cottages, down a couple miles and try to get Pinewood up permanent with 100% service. As they build that road in there and we can get a piece of equipment in to string the cable, we're going to go ahead and put that back. We think the fiber will be in a few days, a little better solution than the microwave. The cable is probably 15 to 18 days out for it's a permanent to Pinewood. So that should put Pinewood back in. There's a few things in Pinewood are missing that they're working on, and they found yesterday to turn off the Big Elk, beyond that's a couple thousand feet of cable that's missing. So we have a lot of little miscellaneous stuff. Then our big unknown is the Elk Meadows thing. So obviously you can't get up the road to it. We flew the helicopter up it a couple times, and we know a little bit, but we don't know a lot. And we did some testing and measuring. We flew some guys in, dropped them off, let them walk, and picked them up. But that's a whole unknown, and I'd like to tell you we have a plan for it, but the fact is, we're a little unsure what we're gonna do or how we're gonna do it. But as they get the road up there, we'll be able to get in and do some more looking and testing and stuff. Pinewood, we're hoping in 3 weeks we're permanent, back to 100%.
I know that some of the comments that I've heard is that you have electricity and other utilities. Unfortunately for us, the routes that our facilities run do not run the same. So our challenges have been completely different. And the fact that they're going to open the road on Monday, that's huge for us because we weren't allowed to go in ourselves and put in a temporary solution. The microwave that we put in, it has to have a line of vision to communicate, and knowing the terrain, which you all do, that communication gets interrupted. And just like tonight, I know that it is down, so a lot of you, when you go home that had service, it won't be restored until tomorrow morning. A fuse blew. We have to fly a helicopter in to take somebody in to replace that fuse. So just want to be upfront with you and let you know that when you go home tonight, your service probably is not going to work.
So has anybody got any questions or any? So, yeah, but no answer on that, and I have to do the politicians. Okay, the question was, is there any plans to increase the bandwidth into Pinewood Springs? And I got to give you the politician shuffle on that, because there's been a lot of discussions on it. Personally asked for some stuff. I'm not sure how much of it's going to get funded. And there's some stuff going on with, not a competitor, but with another company that we're looking at. So not soon,
There is
hopefully.
communication, so,
But-
I mean, we're talking about it, but our first priority is to restore service the way it was, and as quickly as possible.
Yeah. We should when we, hopefully the fiber brings everything up 100%. The copper will for sure, but in theory the fiber would, but we thought that the microwave would give us 100%. And the guy that lives in Pinewood stayed up there and worked on it full time, and unfortunately it hasn't worked like we thought it ought to work. It's untested technology, but it was something we could get our hands on relatively quick, but it didn't work. But if the fiber doesn't, the copper will put us back at 100%. So if you don't have it in 3 weeks, then there's something else going on, an individual
over
deal.
here. Yeah.
So the DSL is the internet, so when they get everything turned up permanent, it should come back up what you have. We know it's not fast like in town. Whether it gets upgraded or not is still kind of in the wings. So I'd like to give you a firm answer on it, but it'd be a fib, so.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try to do a little better, and I'm a little hoarse, so. Sorry.
What I'll do is our government and regulatory affairs manager, I will get his information and ask him to get something out to Lori or the county and city officials that we've been in contact with. There is government funding that can help build out, but there's a whole process to get that. So I don't want to make you a promise that I can't keep, but we'll definitely explore all those options. I mean, this is the time to do it, right? We totally understand that, we get that, we would love to make it happen, but I just can't give you a firm answer tonight.
We have local people we bring in from other states, and we bring some outside contractors in from other states, and we resource probably half of the area for the Lions Pinewood thing. We have like 4 or 5 areas that have group tickets in them that we know, and a lot of miscellaneous tickets. Hopefully, in the next couple weeks, we have the big groups of tickets, but then there's a lot of small stuff where they have, you know, from issues from water in the house, or the drop between the pole or the pedestal in the house, a lot of miscellaneous issues that'll arise. We're finding stuff that's flooded, full of mud as we go through, as people move in, go to hook up something we think's good, it's bad. You know, it just filled everything up with water and silt. Typically, a buried plant survives disasters better. In this particular case, it was worse than aerial. You know, we had converted years ago from aerial to buried. Because of the liability in this particular area, we got our clock cleaned.
Yeah, and we've been moving, like, you know, we had a huge influx of contractors to help all across the Front Range, as well as we brought in employees, company employees from other states. Most of them have returned home. In some areas, we are back to almost business as usual, crazy as it sounds. So we're in a place where we're able to bring in our local employees into the Lyons area. Over the weekend, I had extra folks who were available for those that were returning to Lyons. Today we had our retail store was set up again at the FEMA location. They'll be there again on Thursday. If you have any issues with your billing, you can go there in person. If you need to make a phone call, we've got a phone set up there for your use. So we're making progress.
So can we take you for your word that 3 weeks from now, we're gonna have our phones and our internet back? We can't move home until we have phones and internet, because that's talking dates away.
We should,
That's in place, we're still gonna be out of our homes.
so, I understand where you're coming from and the impact it has on your life. And I'm not just the phone guy. I have a business with my son, and it got flooded twice in Boulder, so that's my night job doing that when I get out of here is the same thing everybody else is doing, drywall insulation. So I can't guarantee it, but there's a lot of focus on it. And we know that's an area. We worked a deal out with the county today for access in there. We haven't physically been able to pull the cable down that now. They're up to the fire engine, if everybody knows where the fire engine's stuck in the river. We should be able to get in there relatively quick and get that done. So hopefully we have it up inside of that. I can give you my phone number if you'll come up to me. Tammy takes the mass calls. I kind of take a few of the one-offs or the big construction hits or something.
Our goal is to have you in there as quick as possible, and the fact that we heard, this is the first I heard tonight, that the road is going to be open at noon on Monday. I can't tell you how big that is for us, so that we can actually get in there and start assessing.
Let me just say one thing too. Now I'm in touch with these folks, and many of you who have been in touch with me know that once I'm in touch a lot. So I'll be in touch with them at minimum on a weekly basis, sometimes more, and I'll be providing updates so that you can know, you can count on the timeline. Right now, I think we just need to give them a chance to get in there. What's happened is unprecedented, so let's just give them a chance, and then we'll hear the updates each week.
Yes, and also on CenturyLink.com, for those of you that do have access to the web, we have a flood report that we put out that talks about all of the different areas that we're still trying to restore service to, so you can go out there and see an update.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We all want phones, and we all want to go home, and we all have questions about roads and water, and they're all coming. But I just wanted to take just a minute to put something into perspective. I'd like everybody from Big Elk Meadows to please stand up in the room, including up here. They have no road home, they have no water, they have no phones, they have no power. They don't have any infrastructure whatsoever, and yet somehow they made it here. I'm not quite sure how that happened. And I've been watching, them just through their journey. One of their main sources of communication is through Facebook. They fire up the generator once or twice a day to be able to communicate with themselves and with the outside world. And nobody's been able to get to them. So as much as we all want the last of our services to take effect, just think about our neighbors up in Big Elk Meadows. And personally, I can't wait until CR 47 is done so we can go visit each other. So I'd like to call Dwayne from FEMA up here. We're going to talk a little bit about flood relief. I'm going to be the hall monitor of time because I promised the church we wouldn't run over.
First of all, let me thank Laura for inviting us here and for gathering all of you together. It's an immense task. Can't believe she did it, but I want to thank her personally. My role with FEMA is I'm a disaster survivor assistant manager. That's a term for saying nothing more than we work with the individuals families, the individual businesses that were affected by this disaster. We have an entirely different team that focuses on public assistance, which is your infrastructure, your roads, and things of that sort, and they're working very closely with the other individuals you've heard from. Just by a quick show of hands, how many of you have registered with FEMA for assistance already? Wonderful. If you haven't, please do so. We have a table right outside the main door here. We have registration information for you. Due to time constraints, I don't believe we're going to be able to register you right here, but we will do everything we can to gather the information you need. I have been to Big Elk Meadows. For those of you, believe me, I express my condolences to what you're going through. This is a tough way to live. But I can tell you, everyone, including the 10 or 12 people who are working hard up there and living up there, are doing what they can to get this restored. I am amazed at what CDOT has done, and I compliment them for it. I travel on 36 just about every day down to Pinewood Springs. I know what the effect is, and to see this announcement that road's going to be open come Monday is an immense help to me as well. Many of you have asked, and I know it's a question, I've registered with FEMA, where's the inspector? The inspectors have not been able to get into these areas because of the restrictions. I did a report a couple days ago and submitted it, basically letting them know that they could go in by the pilot cars, and I'm going to be happy to inform them come morning that starting Monday, they can get in. On that note, I want you to understand that when you get the call from the inspector, or if you already have, and he's asked you the question, to call him back and let him know when you can get in, start calling him and tell them to get ready to be there Monday. But you need to be there also for that inspection. It's very important that they have access to it. If it's delayed, it's only going to delay your benefits coming to you. I think this has been an enormous and very, very critical disaster. I worked Hurricane Sandy. This is the anniversary of it 1 year later. Spent 5 months in New York working on that, and I've been here since the day of the declaration, which basically is our invitation from the state to come in and assist. Once the state of Colorado feels that we have assisted them as far as they can and they can take care of their recovery going forward, we will start to diminish our staff. But I can assure you, FEMA as a whole will continue to be with you for a while, and our public assistance people will be here, I'm sure, quite a while, working on the infrastructure and the damage that was done to some of the things, such as the dams that are up in Big Elk Meadow that were damaged. I just want to thank all of you for coming tonight, for your patience and resilience. You're proud communities, and each of you is a part of that, and I'll tell you, it's from the bottom of my heart to each of you. Thank you for your resilience and for your patience with this. We're going to do everything we can to help you. We will be outside the door. I don't want to take a lot of time from the other people who are here. Please stop by. We'll stick around as long as we need to out there to talk to you. Does anyone have any quick questions that I can answer for you? Yes?
Hi, my name is Donna Hasman-Black, and I am in charge of the Estes Valley Bulk Distribution. And now that our roads are starting to get repaired, people are slowly getting back into their homes. There's a lot of things that are needed, chainsaws for our fire department, all of our fire departments, Glenwood, Drake, Pinewood, Big Meadows, Big Elk Meadows, all those things are needed, mucking boots, tools. You know, we've got volunteers now, we're getting volunteers to come in and help, you know, but we're lacking those type of things. The governor's office told us to come here
And I will do everything I can in my power to push that up to the supervisors above me to let them know. I will say, I've worked in Loveland, Fort Collins, and now I'm up in Estes Park, working in Pinewood Springs, as well as Big Elk Meadow and up on Storm Mountain. Chainsaws, generators are things that you can claim on your registration for FEMA. So if you have purchased those already and you haven't claimed them on your FEMA application, please feel free to. There are limitations to the amount of money you can claim, but if it assists you in your recovery, you can claim those. Most importantly, I will say, the Loveland Disaster Recovery Center, which is down at the old Hewlett-Packard building, kind of like 800 South Taft. Behind it is a distribution center. They have told me they will be there until probably sometime mid-December. They have loads and loads of supplies and things if you need them.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, you can.
Okay, for the last 4 to 5 weeks, I'm with the Northern Colorado Epilepsy Foundation. For the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've been working with Donnell through the relief agency you're speaking at the moment. I have been using my truck with my boss's permission to haul 1 or 2 loads of leaf up to her efforts to give relief and assistance to people out there. It's only my truck that's been supplying it for 4 weeks. Originally, I had to go through Blackhawk, and then they opened 119. So I've been going through Netherlands, and I made 2 trips last week in my company truck, and I made one this past Sunday when I rented a trailer. And what they need is these items so they can get the work done. And I'm the only one that's been bringing things up there. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I just want you to know the only reason they have anything up there at their disaster relief at the Rocky Mountain Church is because we can bring it up there. And we asked the governor's press secretary, and she said to come here, and if it wasn't fixed tonight, it'll be fixed by her office tomorrow.
And the problem is too, is getting these chainsaws and stuff, once they hit that store, they're giving them out the minute they get there, so these communities don't get that. They're not getting from that. I mean, we're getting some stuff, but it's very little, and so we need to make sure that these communities are not forgotten about when it comes to chainsaws, generators, all that stuff.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you to you for the trips that you've made and what you're doing personally.
I was at that relief center tonight,
Okay?
and it's almost there for the things they need.
Okay.
So the items that are on priority list, chainsaws, generators, mushrooms, they're not there.
If you can stop out at the table and give me your contact information, I'll be happy to pass the information on and see what assistance we can give you. All right? With that, I thank all of you again. Hope to see some of you out there, and best of luck in your recoveries.
On the subject of flood relief and getting volunteers in to do a lot of this work, we're kicking off a program that I think will help tremendously. We have this interesting identity crisis about where we live. You know, our driver's licenses say Lyons. We live maybe in Larimer County, maybe in Boulder County. Our town is called Pinewood Springs or Big Elk Meadows. I just found out the other day Big Elk Meadows actually is both in Boulder County and Larimer County. So I thought we had the identity crisis. But I'll tell you, there's a benefit to that, and that's that actually we can pool from both Larimer County and from Boulder County. And with that, we're going to be working with the town of Lyons on their volunteer program, and it's remarkable what they've done down there in terms of getting in and helping people clean out basements and such. And also, we're going to be working with Larimer County. And I'm going to have them come up in just a second. But before I do that, I wanted to invite Jocelyn up very, very quickly from the town of Lyons / Boulder County. She's putting together a really great program so that don't worry if you didn't get everything you were hoping for from FEMA or from insurance or any of those things. There are going to be other resources moving forward. And as this crisis kind of goes into the rearview mirror, this is going to be a long-term effort to provide some help and some relief. So I just wanted a couple minutes for you to introduce what you're doing.
Hi, so I'm Jocelyn Fankhauser, and I am the Lions Resource Coordinator. And I'm doing that 20 hours a week. I'm a Lyons resident, and I've worked for the county for almost 18 years investigating child abuse. So I know resources. And so the commissioners and some other people put it together and moved me out of child protection those 20 hours for me to help Lyons. But you guys are a part of Lyons. You have, like you said, Lyons on your address. So if you need help, can't hear me? Better? What?
Said louder.
Oh, sorry. I know I speak softly. So I've done a lot of work in Lyons. I know a lot of resources. One thing I would like you to look for is lionsrecoveryresources.net. It's a work in progress. We've just kind of started putting it together, but it's actually an internet access to a lot of the resources. It has links to Boulder County, to FEMA, to SBA, all kinds of things that you need. I'm also available if you need me to ask questions. I'm in Lyons on Mondays and Fridays and on Wednesday afternoons. And I'm either in Town Hall or I'm in the DAC where FEMA is located. You can also find my, you want my phone number? You want the website again? lionsrecoveryresources.net. If you are on Facebook, a really great place to access information is Lyons Colorado Facebook page. Just like the page, and I've been posting every resource I come across, every link onto that page. For instance, a resource this weekend is Catholic Charities will help you. They will help you restock your refrigerator, give you several $100s worth of grocery cards. You can go to Boulder or you can use their phone number, and that phone number is on the Lyons Colorado Facebook page, but I also have it as well. You can meet with them if you have special needs, like your washer got flooded and you need help replacing that. Catholic Charities can help you, but there are lots and lots of resources like that. I couldn't even begin to go through them in probably an hour. So please either get a hold of me at the DAC or talk with me, or go to that website and you'll see the resources that I have posted. I do want to reiterate the FEMA deadline is November 14th. And you have to be registered with FEMA by that date. There is no extension to that date. It's firm, from what I understand. You also have to register with SBA. I know it says Small Business Association, but this is one thing I've learned when I was working in the beginning with the town of Lyons. You register with FEMA. If you have any loss to your property, you have to register with SBA. You have to. Because in order for you to go back to FEMA for any grant money, you have to have registered with the SBA and get an answer from them. That doesn't mean you have to take a loan. It just means they have to know whether or not you have access to it. So please make sure that you get registered with both of those. The one other deadline that has passed is unemployment insurance. If you have a business and you will have a flood unemployment loss, meaning you've suffered business loss because of flood, you can file for flood unemployment. The deadline is passed. But my understanding is that it's extended if you have extenuating circumstances. And I would say that everyone in Pinewood Springs and Big Elk Meadows has extenuating circumstances. I mean, you guys don't even have a road yet. So that's a pretty extenuating circumstance. All you have to do is go into the DAC, talk to the unemployment people at their desk, and get registered for that unemployment insurance. The other deadline that's coming up is if you have flood insurance. Does anybody in Pinewood Springs have flood insurance, though? Probably not. So if you do, please find me before mid-November as well, because there are deadlines that are hard deadlines if you have flood insurance. I didn't think that applied to you, but it did apply to quite a few people in Lyons. So again, get a hold of me. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Sorry to surprise you. Well, since he just walked back in the door, I thought it would also be good of us to acknowledge our Larimer County sheriffs, especially Sheriff Smith, who's I hear from our neighbors up in Big Elk Meadows that the sheriffs are there on ATVs. I don't know if it's daily, but it sure feels like it because I see the pictures on Facebook all the time. And they are making every effort to go up there and just make sure everybody's okay. As a Pinewood homeowner, I just want to say thank you for patrolling our neighborhood while we weren't there. I really appreciate it. With respect to getting volunteer groups in, we're actually putting together a very organized way to do that, both for our public spaces where we need lots of debris removal and cleanup, and also for individual needs in terms of basement cleanup, yard cleanup, things of that nature. So what we've done, out on the table next to FEMA, there are personal needs assessment forms. I'd ask you to either take one with you or fill it out here, leave it there on the table. We're going to be collecting those and evaluating what your needs are. How many basements do we need to clean out? What all do we need to do within our communities? This is both for Big Elk and for Pinewood. So we'll collect all that data, and then we will send and coordinate in groups of volunteers, both from the community and professional volunteers, much like you've seen in Estes Park and Lyons, to come in and help clean up the community. So I ask that you give us that chance to organize and do that, and I promise you we'll try our very best to get some help there. So please grab one of those forms, and I'll also put one up on the website as well. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Larimer County, who's here to update us on lots of different issues, but also I've asked them to provide a specific update for the folks in Big Elk Meadows.
Thanks, Laura. Hi. Thanks, Laura. My name is Denny LaRue, Larimer County Public Information, and I have just a minute to introduce some people. Laura had asked us to show a video tonight, the premiere of a video we made about the flood, but I'm going to ask that we put that off until the end of the meeting so that we don't really cut into your time to ask questions, because we know you have questions, and that's why we're here, is to answer your questions, and thank you for asking us to come. We've got our engineering department here to give you specific updates on the roads in Pinewood Springs and in Big Elk Meadows. We've got our solid waste director here who can answer debris question, and Suzanne Bassinger is our recovery manager, and she's going to be with you for a while. She's long-term recovery. She got her stripes during the Hyde Park Fire long-term recovery and is still working on that, so she knows what you're up against here. So she's here to answer your questions as well. And how many of you have been to our website, larimer.org/flooding 2013? Anybody? Great. Are those of you who have been there subscribed yet? We have a subscription piece to that where it's free, of course. You just put in your name and subscribe. And then when we put new information on our flood site, you'll just get a notification that says new information is there. So please subscribe, and that way the information will automatically come to you. But before we go any further and get started with the roads and debris and long-term recovery, we have our Commissioner, Tom Donnell, here tonight that wants to say hello, and we want him to say hello.
Good evening, folks. I was gonna introduce our sheriff. He's here, and Sergeant Sullivan back there smiling. Look at the sergeant. Good to see you, man. You know, when the flood happened, I think we had about 3 patrol vehicles that got stuck up in various parts of the county, including one, I think, in Big Elk Meadows. When we finally airlifted that deputy out, he'd gained 10 pounds. The guy was he was the best fed guy in Larimer County. But they did some awesome work then, and they're still doing some awesome work on your behalf, and we're really proud of them and all that they do. I was going to say something nice about Johnny Olson, but he left. I've never seen CDOT move so fast as they moved on this project, and it really made you feel good to see it, didn't it? It made you proud to be a Coloradan. And I noticed all the CDOT guys were sitting in the back. They were being careful because this is a church, and they thought there might be collection at the end. But so they sat back there to be careful. But thanks for all you guys do too. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. So I won't waste a lot of time making speeches. I think we have a video. I've not seen it. But I think there's a video that kind of highlights some of the recovery efforts that the county's made. I think the county engineer has a PowerPoint. Do you have a PowerPoint you're going to do? So we'll do a brief PowerPoint, but what I really want to do is answer your questions, and I know that's why you're here, and you want answers to specific things, and so let's try to do that. Is that all right? Good. Okay. Mark, why don't you come up? Mark Peterson is a Larimer County engineer, and I think he's going to give you a brief, 5 minutes?
We'll try to make it brief.
Okay, PowerPoint presentation. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you all. So the engineering department is part of Public Works Division in Larimer County, and also that includes the Road and Bridge Department as well as Solid Waste and others, but certainly the Road and Bridge Department, all the employees of that had a huge role to play in being first responders out there dealing with a lot of the road damage issues that we had throughout the county. Really, right now, our mission is to, okay, sorry, I'll try to get closer. Right now, our mission is really to work with all of you to try to restore access, and then to go through the efforts to restore our infrastructure, to get our roads and our bridge system back in working order. This has really been, as we all know, a really catastrophic event for Larimer County. We have experienced damage that spanned from State Highway 14 all the way south to the Boulder County line. We really, as has been mentioned, we started with the largest fire in Larimer County history last year, floods following that, and then we make it through this flood season. Supposedly, we get hit in September with catastrophic rainfall events. The map up here on the display really shows areas where we dealt with damage. County Road 27 coming off of State Highway 14. The Upper Buckhorn, which is County Road 44H and County Road 27. Devil's Gulch Road, in and out of the Glenhaven area, out of Estes Park and Drake. Fish Creek Road up in Estes Park. Big Elk Meadows, as you folks are all well aware. We lost a number of structures out on the Little Thompson River on the east side of the county down towards Berthoud. We have a whole host of bridge structures that are public structures crossing the Big Thompson River that serve as access to residences, and we lost a number of those structures. And there are just a whole host of other locations throughout the county that have resulted and have come on our plate as a result of the flood event. I'm going to blaze through these pictures because I'm sure you've seen tonight enough pictures of road damage throughout the county. Again, these are just locations through the county where we've experienced damage. This is the kind of situation we're dealing with on County Road 47. It's the north fork of the Big Thompson River. The river basically stripped any material out of there, left us with boulder fields to work in. We're seeing some of that in the remaining portions of County Road 47 as well. There's absolutely nothing there to use to construct a road. We're having to haul materials in. We lost every crossing structure on the Buckhorn Creek. There's 7 or 8 structures that are totally washed out. This is up in Estes Park, as you're probably well aware. We not only lost major segments of road, but there was a sewer main providing service to about 2,500 properties in Estes Park, and that's only now being in the process of getting temporarily put in place. This is typical of the type of damage we see in places on the US 34, the Big Thompson corridor. And that's actually one of the private local access bridges in the foreground there. This is out on the Little Thompson River, again, where we not only did the railroad lose a bridge, but then we lost the County Road 15 bridge nearby. So in terms of the damages and the things we've been dealing with at the county level, we had 65 structures that were severely damaged or destroyed, 25 to 30 miles of roadway that was almost completely obliterated. Got a couple thousand properties that initially were without access, and a repair estimate to deal with those road damages of about $100 million. Again, to give you some context, in a normal year, we deal with 1 to 2 bridges in terms of repair and replacement in a given year. 1 to 2 miles of roadway that we pave or improve, and our entire transportation budget for the Road and Bridge Department is $20 million a year. So where to start? We jumped in, we assessed the system we got in there, we looked at what needed to be done. We've generated damage summaries, we've coordinated with our other agencies, and we've got construction crews out as soon as we could, in some places in just a number of days. In terms of progress in the last 6 weeks of the county, we've got 17 active construction sites. We've got more than 30 bridges that we've managed to reopen, about 20 miles of temporary road that's been completed, and about 1,500 properties that have been reconnected with access. But as you all know, we still have a long ways to go as well. We've still got Devil's Gulch Road, County Road 43, we've got County Road 47, we've got Fish Creek Road that all have still damage to be addressed, even under emergency conditions, so we can get access back to people. We've got local road repairs as well, the big Thompson Canyon bridges, as you've seen, and other local roads. So Matt Johnson is here. Matt's an engineer within the engineering department. Some of you may know him because he also deals with general improvement districts, so he's dealt with Pinewood Springs. He's been actively involved in working with our contractors up in this area, both with respect to County Road 47 and the Pinewood Springs subdivision. So he's going to give you some more specific information on what's going on and what we have accomplished and what we have left to go. So with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you all for the chance to speak with you tonight. Restoring your access has been our #1 priority since the flood, so thank you for your patience. We're working on it diligently. So with that, we'll talk about Pinewood first. Here we have, use the red dot that you probably can't see, but there was a culvert washout on Kiowa just below the fire station. That was restored last week. The Seneca Bridge has been posted for a 5-ton weight limit. The Kiowa Bridge, we installed a temporary low water crossing. That was done last week, which opened up, I think, 30 homes beyond that. And then also late last week, the Cree Bridge washout, we put a low water crossing in there. The contractor Blade Works, in my opinion, has done an outstanding job. He's Pinewood Springs, just kind of annual blading contractor, and basically within the first week that he was up there, he got the Cree Bridge opened back up late last week, like I said, and also the Kiowa Bridge. So he thought he might come. If Marlon's here, we thank you. He's also working on the Iroquois Road washout next to the Cree Bridge, and anticipates by sometime this week to have, again, some sort of temporary ramp passable for passenger cars. So that's the Kiowa Road, that's the Cree Bridge, the Iroquois washout, the Kiowa Road Bridge, the Seneca Road Bridge, and a few pictures of the work that's been done last week. So we'll be transitioning from these temporary repairs into more permanent repairs. Those are going to take some time. Rebuilding the bridges, obviously, we're looking at 2014, maybe into 2015. So these temporary low water crossings over the creeks are going to be in use for some time, like I said. We'll get to removing the debris under the Seneca Road Bridge, make a determination of what else may be wrong there, but hopefully that can be repaired. And just one other item on Pinewood Springs. Marlon plans to be there through probably the end of next week. He's our contractor, just doing finishing touches on the repairs that he's already working on. So that's kind of the schedule for Pinewood. Going on to Big Elk Meadows and County Road 47. I'm not sure. I'll have to get with you afterwards. So overall, there were 6 creek crossings that washed out, and nearly 1.5 miles of road missing, shown in red. It's about 3 miles to the Boulder County line, so about half of that is pretty well gone. just several photos here. We get into some boulder fields. So to this point to date, we've gotten 5 low water crossings completed, and we're about a mile to a mile and a half in. The next section that our contractor, Gerard Excavating, is going to be working on is the most challenging. A lot of the smaller cobble rock and fines were washed down towards Highway 36, so the sections they're in now are car-sized boulders. It's hard to build a road out of that. So they brought in more equipment late last week to start hauling material from the bottom up towards the upper damaged sections. They're hoping by the end of next week that they have some sort of temporary narrow road, 4-wheel drive likely, punched through. So that's the schedule we're looking at there with and then the weeks to follow, they'll be continuing to work on getting the lower portions with the driving surface, crushed road base material. Our road and bridge department has said that they'll keep the road plowable as possible throughout the winter. Just a photo of the National Guard. They installed the first crossing right below Highway 36. Put in a 2-cell they put in the 2-cell concrete box culvert, so that crossing's pretty substantial and will last hopefully through the permanent repairs. So there's a picture of it. Just more equipment. That D9 dozer was mobilized out of Casper, Wyoming, going through I-70, so just some of the challenges the contractors are dealing with. Equipment shortages right now and getting the right equipment. There's a lot of logistics involved with that. A picture of a portion of the road that they've worked on to date, and then we'll install or replace a driving surface on top of that. So then once access is restored, we'll transition to the permanent repairs. That's going to be a little longer process, and I'll let Mark touch on that.
Well, what's showed up here in terms of permanent repairs really applies to virtually any project that we're dealing with throughout the county right now. We're going to have to go through the process of consulting with FEMA, going out and getting actual design plans and bidding projects, and so there's a lot more involved in terms of getting to that point, and unfortunately it's going to be a somewhat protracted process. So we're all in it for the long haul. We all want to get you back, to some semblance of normalcy in your lives. I'm sure you're really looking forward to that, so we just want to partner with you and get there. So with that, open it up to any questions you might have. Yes, sir. The question is, are the temporary bridges or the crossings in Pinewood Springs adequate to support larger vehicles, trash trucks, propane trucks? And the answer to that is yes. In the back?
We have not field verified past the 1.5 to 2 mile mark. The creek is not adjacent for too much further beyond where we know the damages are. That's one thing we have to see once they get a little further. We're planning to be up there on Friday to take that next step on evaluating what the damages are beyond kind of that 1.5 to 2 mile mark.
But the restoration activities occur along the entire length of public roadway. Yes. The question is, what's the projected time frame for the weight restriction on the Seneca Bridge in terms of being able to deal with that? Matt will address what's being done for a workaround on that.
The plan was to get the Iroquois ramp or temporary road back in, and you could get to all those homes that way versus the Seneca Road Bridge.
The question related to the Kiowa and Seneca temporary Okay, Kiowa. So the question is about the Kiowa and Cree crossings in Pinewood?
Right. Blade Works has some finishing touches to do on those. He anticipated being in Pinewood for another 5 to 10 days. So buttoning up those two crossings and getting the Iroquois crossing or temporary road in is what he's working on from now.
Yes, sir. If I understand your question, it's once County Road 47 is reestablished for access, what will be the weight limit for traffic? And again, our intent is to be able to support normal legal loads on that kind of roadway. Now, it's going to depend on what we're able to accomplish, as we go through the remaining portion of the construction season. We're out to, get a road that's, got a drivable surface on it. We're just gonna have to see how well we can develop it, but it's, our intent or our desire would be able to support, normal traffic or the types of vehicles that you need to get back to provide services, propane deliveries or things of that nature. The question is about the November opening for US 36 and the ability to get to Estes Park, and that's a CDOT roadway, but my understanding is, yeah, it's full opening of US 36.
It'll be open from Lyons to Estes, free, just like it was before the flood.
All right, thank you.
So, thanks, guys. That was good. Does anyone have any questions about, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, our website. Denny, do you want to talk about that? Come on down. Or Suzanne, why don't you come down? Suzanne Bassinger is our recovery manager, and she can answer any questions, general questions about recovery type services and give website addresses.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Hi, my name is Suzanne Bassinger. I started work after the Hyde Park fire and was still working on recovery there when this occurred. So we'll be here, long-term recovery will be here for you for a year or more. But anyway, your question was about the website. We started the day after the flood, getting our website up and trying to put every piece of information we could find up there. The website address is www.larimer, LARIMER.org. And you can go there and look for flooding 2013, or you could do www.larimer.org/flooding, FLOODING 2013. And again, if you subscribe, it's real easy to click on the box, and when you subscribe, we will send you quick updates saying, hey, we have new news on the long-term recovery group, which now has financial help for unmet needs for all of the flood survivors. And I mention that because there is another group. It's an organization of community, faith-based citizens like yourselves that come together after disasters, and they provide financial assistance for unmet needs to all survivors. And we will be around. I'm part of that long-term recovery group. We will be around for a year to a year and a half after this event. So one of the real important things to remember is you should register with FEMA, and that will be one of the requirements of assistance from the long-term recovery group. And that, I also wanted to mention, I heard somebody say that the deadline for registration was ending November 14th. Larimer County is in the process of requesting that be extended, and I believe that that's going to be supported by the state, and we will get an extension of at least 30 days. I would prefer 90, but we'll see what we can do about that. And if you have any questions, my phone number is 498-7148. My job is I am here to help you in your recovery. So I'm your contact person. I could refer you to other departments, but call me and I'll see what I can do to help you out. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. So I don't know if there's any questions regarding debris or cleanup, or if there were some questions about the river. If anybody has any of those types of questions. Yeah, yes, sir. Sure. We're going to do it. We just executed an RFP, and I think we're going to select a contractor tomorrow. Steve, come on up, Steve. Steve Gillette runs our Larimer County landfill. He'll give you a little more detail. But we are planning to hire a contractor. We're going to go through this FEMA process to pick up debris. Typically, that means it needs to be along the road right away for it to be collected. I say typically because there's always circumstances where we have to get stuff out of the river and things like that, and it's a dicey thing if it's on private ground and things. But you know, that's our goal, and we think it's going to be probably a pretty expensive proposition, tens of millions of dollars perhaps to have debris, just to debris cleanup on top of the infrastructure work. So, Steve, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, as Tom said, you know, we're in the process. Tomorrow morning, we're going to pick a debris contractor and then recommend to the Board of County Commissioners for them to commence work. At the same time, we have an RFP out for a debris monitor because this work has to be monitored for eligible debris, meaning the debris company can't pick up a boulder and then charge them for it if it wasn't part of the flood. It's just an integrity thing that FEMA has as a requirement. Our estimates are between there's 50 to 100,000 cubic yards of debris that we believe will be picked up along the public right-of-way. And that's just the first bite, because after that, there's the debris in the streams, and that estimate is a much higher. They're estimating 144,000 cubic yards in the streams. The solid waste department's budget is about $4 million a year. We're believing, as Tom, for the public right-of-way, about $5 million, and then the stream cleanup might be in excess of $14 million. So this is a lot of dollars. And again, we've been waiting for the same thing you all have been waiting for: the roads to be open. You can't pick up debris unless the roads are there. And now that we have this, thanks to CDOT and the National Guard, now hopefully we'll get 34. Estes Park, the transfer station has been running there, and I don't know if you, not this weekend, the weekend before, they rolled a semi over by Blackhawk, bringing trash out of Estes Park. You know, Highway 7 is a pretty dicey road. So one of the traffic you will see coming by your house now will be the trash from Estes Park. But, you know, that's part of, until 34 is open December 1st. My number is on our website. You can call me directly. I've been in trash 32 years. I love to talk trash. Used to have a trash company in Estes Park. I know some of the people in this room, and, well, I can talk trash because I'm next to our commissioner.
So can I. So can I. Yeah. So that's moving forward. It's going to be quite an ordeal. It's going to be a serious business up where you live, but it's really serious in places like Glen Haven and Drake, where there's tremendous devastation there. A lot of homes were lost, and they're in the river, and, there's not a lot of bad stuff in some of them that needs to get picked up. So it's going to be a long ordeal. Yes, sir. Private roads. So the question is there specific help for PID road systems, public or private roads that are maintained? I guess I don't need to explain it to you folks because you all live in one probably, or most of you do. Mark will come up, but I can tell you that there were over the years the county's had a number of GIDs, general improvement districts, and things like that. When those things have ended, when they've paid off their bonds, sometimes there was a little bit of extra money that was left over, and the county has that money available as loans. Now, I mean, it's limited because it's limited to how much money that we've put in there, but some of that money is available, and I don't know what the balance is. There's probably $500,000 maybe, but some of it's lent out at different times. So there is some help available. Do you want to talk about specifics, or you just want me to keep going?
Yeah, I'll talk
All
about
right, go ahead.
To try to answer your specific question, it has been run past FEMA, and they have indicated that the public roads that are part of public improvement districts or general improvement districts are considered eligible roads, so that the county commissioners have allocated local match monies to be used towards the improvements that are needed, or the repairs that are needed on those roadways. So we're trying to go in to the improvement district roads and assess the needs, the damages that they've undergone, and get those accounted for in FEMA's tabulations of damage and reimbursement.
So just for public roads and PIDs and subdivisions, the commissioners have allocated $1 million.
The county will end up being the sponsor in that case and will be coming to you.
We come to you. Right. Anything else? Oh, yes, sir. Sorry. Don't go anywhere, Mark. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sullivan, what are you going to do? The question is, a lot of these folks aren't going to be able to get back into their homes, even though the road system's going to be open. Do you want to come up and talk a little bit about how you're going to handle patrol in some of these areas where there may be the potential, at least, will exist for looting and things like that, I suppose.
We will continue.
Yeah, you don't need a microphone. No, come on. Yeah. Yes.
We're so not used to this anymore.
Yeah.
Will there be a pilot car?
No pilot cars. But, Kevin, to your question, I don't think that County Road 47 won't be probably accessible by Monday. So, unfortunately, it'll be a little bit later than that. So, the reason I didn't want to loot is because I knew Sullivan and I was scared of him. But, just tell me. Anything else? I know there's did I see somebody? No? I don't want to take a bunch. Yes, yeah, this lady and then you in the back. Yes, ma'am.
This summer, they're going to address the water
we're getting to it, yeah.
The-
Hang in there.
Oh, you have a water district or something? Okay, one more than this guy in the back, and then I'll let him get to it. I didn't understand what he said.
The roads that you're building, are they going to be able to withstand like 20-ton trucks that can come up and service what they need in Big Elk Meadows?
So is your question whether the road we put in will be a full-service road to accommodate dump trucks and that type of thing? Yeah, that's the intention. I don't think there's going to be a load, I mean, the standard, just the regular load limit that we use on all county roads. It won't be load posted. Nothing will be load posted in Big Elk, I don't think. There's one road that's load posted in Pinewood, and then there's probably going to be a few, maybe a bridge, maybe on the Little Thompson down in Bertha, it'll have to be load posted. And I don't know if much else will have to be in the county. I don't think so. Most of the stuff is going to be, it's going to be good, usable, completely usable. Maybe not pretty, but usable. Okay. All right, if there's anything else, I think would be helpful is, I see all the folks here, and it'd be nice if the Board of County Commissioners could come to you guys, maybe in a few weeks or something, up to your neighborhood and have a town hall. I know my fellow commissioners would like to be here tonight, but we have a lot of stuff going on right now. I think that maybe Denny can try to put something like that together, find a location that we can meet, maybe a little closer to you, and come to you and listen to what's going on and hear your concerns. And maybe you could even tell us if we did something good. That'd be fine. You can do that. But, you can tell us what we do wrong, too. We want to hear that, too. So how about we do that, and we'll plan on that in a few weeks here. So thanks a lot for being here. It's good to see you all. I'm glad that you're all well, and we look forward to everything getting back to normal. So thanks a lot.
I know for Pinewood people, the big question is water, and we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But before we do that, one thing I wanted to make you aware of is a lot of you came down on charter buses. I want to make sure you know that that was totally funded by CDOT, and they really, really appreciated the community working with them with respect to patients and making sure that they had access they need to make the repairs that they did. So going back home, there's going to be one big bus parked out in front. It'll leave after the meeting, so you don't have to look for 3 buses. There's just one out there. Before we talk about Pinewood Springs, I wanted just to give the stage to Big Elk Meadows for a few minutes. I'm going to bring a resident, Guy Scoma, up here to talk. I think it's a great chance to stretch while you give them a standing ovation just for the amazing things that they're enduring up there.
I think that's the first time I've ever got a standing ovation, and I didn't even speak yet. It's interesting listening to the people that are here. I can't help but tell you that the things that I'm going to make remarks on are representing the Big Elk Meadow members. I've never been so, shall we say, welcomed into a community or whatever as it is, and I hope that I represent them properly. I'm vice president with Big Elk on the board, which means nothing other than I get as much pay as this lovely lady back here gets. For all her work, she connected us to Donna Compton, which has been our angel on site, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute, but I hadn't met Laura until tonight, and let me tell you, she and Donna have done a yeoman's job. I'd like to first start out by telling you that I'm 10 years National Guard, so you don't have to even try to understand what I feel when I see the troops standing all around that room tonight. Infantry officer, so I didn't run with them, but I am a heavy equipment operator also. Not by trade, just we dug lakes and built dams just like we have up at Big Elk for our own private property. So I'm going to take the lead of the Brigadier General, who certainly would be my commander, if I were in the Colorado Guard, and I will read from notes so that it's brief and I'll get through it and done, because you've endured a great deal while you're here tonight. And so with this, I'd like to start out by saying, of course, good evening, and I hope that we are very successful in our run and back out of the recovery from the Colorado flood of 2013. My name is Guy Scoma. As Laura mentioned, I'm vice president with the board, and the president, the secretary, and the task commander are at a BEMA meeting today, so they weren't able to be here, so you're stuck with me. I'd like to do a personal side walkthrough, kind of a timeline, and maybe you'd get a little bit of understanding. I was not there. I had a man coming up to our home to work on Friday, and the good Lord just put something in my bench that I couldn't go forward and be there, honestly. Or I'd have been there Wednesday night, Thursday, and by Friday, I don't have to tell you, it was already a disaster. What always bothers me is the number of September 11th. I don't know about you, but when the rain started, we built a building at Rocky Mountain Christian Church. This is our mother church to Rocky Mountain at LifeBridge. And we're so proud to be connected. And I know that the pastor that day on the 15th of September said, I know you all want to be somewhere else. You don't want to be here. We all wanted to go to New York and do our part for those twin towers being taken down. So this is almost indescribable to describe what's happened up at Big Elk. The rain started to come down and there was 100 people up there, 50 full-time. Homes and residents were involved. There's more up there. There's 165 homes up there. In fact, if you don't know where it's at, it's between Lyons and Estes Park, about 2 miles past Pinewood Springs. Donna Compton is our volunteer fire department member that was the only person with communications. Laura mentioned earlier, she'd start her generator at 7 in the morning. I know, because I was on the email with her, and oftentimes her and I were signing off at midnight. That was 7 weeks of this particular week. The dams broke. What do you say? The noise was horrendous. They sat, those that were there, and listened to it go by. I spoke to several of our members tonight when they came in, and they just couldn't even realize the thundering roar. We talk about wind going through the meadows, nothing like that. The staff on site was Nelson Renoff, who was an overseer at the Meadows and also their fire chief, and his wife Carol Nelson and Paul Flanagan. The first order of business was to go around and shut off everything. The power at the poles, the water. This was for safety for the homes, and the propane tanks, because you think, I don't know about you, but I've seen some bobbers going down the river that were 500 and 1,000 gallon tanks. I know many of you have experienced the same. So, Roger Vesley, the president, asked me if I wouldn't start a spreadsheet to collect the information from the members that would tell us what they had in their houses for supplies. This was the very first day. This man manages RTD. I'd actually personally brought him to our presidency. He had 5 years with United Airlines and then 5 years with Raytheon. I thought, he might be able to handle this. We kept track of all of the people, this was really important, who were on the ground, who was leaving, who was not going to be there any longer, and that number kept jiggling, and we're back to Donna again doing this. Most important, as you know, but the thing that I was so pleased with is that no one up there ever got even a hangnail. I know Paul Ledford slipped into a creek, but he's such a big guy, if he would have grabbed something, he would have tore it out because he just would not be getting hurt. The first update went out on the 14th, and we've been putting them out about every 2 or 3 days from then on. The members were telling us then about the supplies that were in their house. Welcome to use anything you want. I don't care what it is. Their food. Sadly, the power was out, so the fridge and freezers were going fast. But canned foods and everything else, take it, use it, gasoline, fuel, generators, whatever it was. These are all locked into my mind because of the fact that I've been doing a spreadsheet for so long. I can even tell you people's addresses and their lockbox numbers to open them up, and they're not displayed anywhere because that was how much it become a part of my life, about 12, 14 hours a day. The members were told where the supplies were, and they also gave us permission to go in to winterize the homes. I want to tell you, as of Saturday at our board meeting, all the homes have been winterized, all 165 of them, by the people on the ground. There's no way to get anybody in, so that's what you'd call the troops on the ground and where their spirit is. I can't tell you how proud I am of the people up there, but also the people in Colorado. Kevin Sweeney began looking for a way in because there was no road. CR 47 was, if you've ever seen a real nice river gravel, that's what our road looks like right now. From here to, well, let me put it this way. From 36 to the split at Johnny Park is 3 miles. It's 1 mile up to the top of the hill and then another mile down. So if they're a mile and a half up, we got a little ways to go to get to us. Randy Orth was out walking every day, hiking, and so was Sam Swab on horseback, looking for a way out another way. In fact, one man left, I won't give you his name. He could be embarrassed. He went out, he was gone 13 hours, and they didn't know what happened to him. And he finally made his way back in, trying to find a way. And so there was some serious concern about this. Always Donnell was the one with a generator and a computer telling us, the whole board and the membership, as updates went out, where people were. The newer updates go out constantly or whatever, as I said, a couple of days apart, and Kathy Sees has been handling all of the communications then and in the future. I'm a pilot, I canvassed pilots and got helicopter pilots, quite honestly, to almost volunteer, not free, because it's about $180 an hour to fly them. So, I mean, the gasoline, the fuel is $5 times 30 gallons, well, you figure it out. But these people have come forward and presented our engineers and brought them in so they could look at the damage and start to get some kind of picture. If I were to throw out a figure to say to you, $3 to $7 million is about where we're at right now. And we're getting questions that we never even thought about. Speaking of refuge that people just mentioned here earlier, that's another bill that you don't think about hauling away. The propane generator of the firehouse was the only thing keeping us alive, and it was running out. It was down to 10%. I asked a good friend of mine from a propane company, and he brought a man in over Johnny Park, because that was the only way in when Kevin checked to find out the roads, to come in by ATV, and it's not still a comfortable ride, to bring he and another man and all the supplies and the pumps and started to bring things. They actually picked up a 500-gallon full tank, which is 400 gallons, I realize, and moved it to the place where the generators were running. It just boggles my mind. If you ever want to stay away from something, don't try moving one of those things, not when there's fuel in them especially. Conference call numbers were set up and we established the boards being able to meet twice a week, try to make a decision. How many of you people would be prepared for that? That incident commander might be. He's one of these people we would trust. I'd turn the TV on only when those people stepped forward because they knew what they were really doing. Well, all the dams are now gone. We lost our roads that we're crossing, and so wildly enough, the people on that side of all of the lakes couldn't get to the people on this side of the lakes for 7 days. Whatever you had in your house is what you had. You could not get there. You could wave, but it didn't do much good from there. With all of the dams gone, we started to look at what would you do due to this flood, because it also tore up all of the water lines circulating Big Elk Meadow. The big kicker here is that if we could get some supplies up there, it would really help, because we can't rebuild the dams and the water comes from the lake that we can't rebuild until it's approved. So the community is dead in the water right now as we stand. Their spirit isn't. The distribution system is up because of the roadways being tossed around. The power lines are okay from the looks of them, but the professionals from Poudre Valley RA will have to decide that. All in all, kind of in finale, is the spirit of the people in Colorado is just something to behold. Each neighbor throughout the communities, after community, helping others when they have already had their own disaster hit them. and still left and went out to help somebody else. At Rocky Mountain Church, Samaritan's Purse was there. There was over 300 people there, constantly going. And there'd be people like me. I'm old, experienced habitat guy, with building 20 houses in Longmont, that were there from Chicago and all over the U.S. coming out to help unmud these people. I just can't applaud enough people in the area. So speaking of the future, when we talk about this future, there's a task force led by Roy McCutcheon, who is what we call kind of our water czar, and a host of past presidents and board members and past and present members that are on this team in the initial recovery plans. Some of them are at this meeting I mentioned earlier. In closing, I'd say that the fire department just made decision and installed a phone in the firehouse that's still running on that same propane that's running the generator for the electricity, so that now I've given the fire chief assistant the telephone number so that they can be in connection, because I personally, as a volunteer fireman up there, if you're a member up there, you're automatically a fireman. I'm not able to run up and down the hills like those young guys, but I was there on July 4th when they came in and saved us, when we just put the fire trucks away in the fire station and a fire broke out right after the 4th of July picnic right across the street. And thank you very much, guys. Come to our aid. I would welcome you always to please come across, walk through the woods, however you get there, and come visit, because the people there are the most magnificent people, just like the people that we've met here tonight. Thank you much.
Is anybody missing a phone? Well, if you hear of anybody missing a phone, I'm going to go ahead and leave it with the church. There's somebody left it here, so just wanted to make you aware of that. I'm going to ask Andy Lucas to come up and give a brief update on emergency services and fire. We'll hear a little bit about roads. We'll, of course, talk about water. But before we do that, is Dan Kundle here by chance? Is he still here? There he is. Okay, why don't you stand up, Dan? And Carl, you know, we had our first responders, and then we've had our constant responders. And these guys have been working constantly. And not always in the greatest conditions, and of course they get the constant questions of when, and you know what, they're residents too, and yet they're out there working all the time. So I just want to make sure that, you know, you walk up and shake their hand and say thanks, because they're, you know, one of the reasons we're going to be able to go home soon. So with that, Andy?
Evening. I just got word that we're going to have helicopters starting to land in the parking lot, and we're going to need all of you to gather in the lobby and practice evacuating again. So, you remember me now? Okay. I'm going to be brief. Just wanted to go over for the fire department, on behalf of the fire board and the fire department itself, what our current situation is, where we stand, current operations, and what our outlook is. So, what a community. I think that's a good summary. All of you, thank you very much. Made our job much easier than it would have been otherwise. Much appreciated. We evacuated a whole bunch of you by helicopter. I'm summarizing. Evacuated a whole bunch more over the road that we all contributed to build out on the old stage road. A lot of pets, a lot of animals, a lot of cars out, a lot of unusual animals as well. We covered a lot of medical evacuation flights in addition to the evacuation flights. Injuries, illnesses, kept us hopping for a while. And we built some trails, as you all know, connecting the island, trail around the break on the Estes side that we never got to use because of property issues. Footpath that was put in mostly by residents, and also worked for ATV. A lot of hard work during that time, and just from the fire department, volunteers alone, over 2,500 hours, man hours of time. And of course, that does not include all of the civilian volunteers that were also involved, that worked with us every day. Much appreciated. As a community, came together, did a lot of work. We had 3 firefighters that stayed behind after the final evacuation on Sunday, 22nd, and maintained firefighting capability in the community. Not a whole lot of firefighting capability, obviously, with only 3 people and a lot of roads out, but they were there to do what they could, and I'm happy to say that now people are trickling back in. Our firefighters are proportionally also trickling back into the community, so our firefighting capability is coming back. We currently have a new auto mutual aid agreement set up with Lyons Fire Department. That happened shortly after our evacuation. And they're prepared to automatically be toned with us. Boulder Communications would tone them along with us on any kind of an issue. And then we'll make a determination on the way whether we need them to continue or not. We have the same arrangement with Big Elk Meadows on a normal situation, but we're disconnected from each other right now. We normally just have a mutual aid agreement with Lyons and the surrounding community, not as extensive as the one we have with Big Elk Meadows because of our proximity. And we'll revert back to that soon. We're on the path towards that. As soon as we get good critical mass, which I consider to be something greater than 1/2 of our first responders back in the community, which should be happening soon. We can currently get our full equipment, our full stable of apparatus, the big red trucks, across all crossings right now except Seneca Bridge. And as you heard earlier, there is a ramp that's being put in across the bypass from the Creek Court crossing, a ramp that'll allow us to get heavy equipment up through that way as well, including our fire trucks. And we can get across obviously the Creek Court and now also the Kiowa Road, Crescent Lake area. So we should have access to everywhere in the community, either now or very soon. Currently, across the Seneca Bridge, we're limited to only lighter equipment. So overall, we're in pretty decent shape. Currently, even without hitting our critical mass, we can deal with medical emergencies well. We just need to get a little more manpower and equipment access in place so that we can deal with structure fires, houses burning, things like that. Our current plan, nothing personal, if your house catches fire and we're under critical mass, we're going to try to save your neighbor's house. Your house is probably gone. It just depends on how far along it is when we get there. It's a little different priority than what we usually try to achieve. We'll certainly do our due diligence, but bear with us as we get back into a full operation. We're also going to be available to use our leadership skills and our personnel that have some ability to help organize, to contribute to the ongoing efforts with the other boards and other members in the community that will also be helping organize and execute on cleanup. And we intend to be a part of that. We have been part of some of the planning for that ongoing, and we'll continue to do that. We've also got a lot of work in process with FEMA and other organizations, minor damages that we incurred as a fire department, consumables that we need to replace that they'll be reimbursing us for, things of that nature. So we still got a lot of work on our hands going forward, but most of it is administrative, cleanup stuff, things of that nature. Willing to take questions for just a short while so we can move ahead. Any questions for fire department in general? Thank you. Thanks. Good night.
We'll hear a brief update about roads, and then we'll get to the big question tonight, water.
Well, actually, Matt kind of stole some of my thunder, but I will go on with what I did have to say for the most part, try to keep it very brief. But first I want to say, when the flood came, our roads were being taken care of by the community. We had people out there digging new ditches, fixing the blocked culverts, and just they weren't looking for leadership. They were just taking it in their own hands to take care of that. And not just in Pinewood Springs. I've talked to people tonight from Big Elk and some of the other communities, and that's happening in all of our communities. I'm impressed. I really am impressed. Thank you. After the first day, we started to organize committees, organize volunteer groups, and they then started doing things like building the roads, building the Stagecoach Road, blazing vehicle trails out to Kiowa Island. Just people jumped in and were taking care of us. In fact, one of my favorite stories is about the people that were out there, the crews we had out with shovels, clearing out culverts. And a big whoop and a holler would go out as soon as they started to see that little whirlpool form, saying, "We got it." So it's great. I'm Don Fairbank, like I think was introduced, chair of the Pinewood Springs Road Board. Try to bring you up to speed a little bit on our activities. We've got, first of all, Dan Kundle, who was mentioned earlier. He's our superintendent of roads. John Bykirk, he's my ace number 2 man. And then Rich Triano, I don't know if Rich is here tonight. He's jumped in there and helped quite a bit also. We've put in, well, we've got 360, well, let me start over. 375 man hours that we've put in, and it's probably a little bit more than that now, since the flood. 376 machine hours fixing the roads. We've salvaged hundreds of truckloads of material. You know, we were isolated. We couldn't bring in truckloads of material. So our crew was able to get out there, scoop up what we could find. It wasn't always the best quality, but it took care of it. And we got our roads so that we could get by on them. 125 tons of better material have already been used for patching our roads. 220 gallons of diesel fuel has been expended. The objectives is to make, first of all, make the roads passable and safe for our residents and citizens. Make sure that the roads are going to be safe to plow this winter. We're going to try and keep our roads open. And finally, another objective that we've got that I'm going to ask for help from you two also, or all of you also, is we've got to make sure that the Little Thompson River debris doesn't come down the river in the springtime and plug up our temporary crossings. So along your property, along your neighbors' properties, we're going to be looking for help cleaning out the river and the banks of the river, just to keep that debris from destroying our access to the places that we've got now. Accomplishments. I would have to say that nearly all of our roads are safe and passable. I think that's a significant accomplishment. I've got to say, I can't say enough for the crew that we've had working. You heard about the temporary road, river crossings that the county has been working with us on. We have had excellent support from Blade Works, and I want to give credit to also it disappeared here somewhere. Blade Works, who take care of our roads, the major rebuildings that we do each year. Great guy to work with. They've been doing great work for us, way ahead of schedule. He's hired subcontractors, Frontier and Left Hand Construction. These guys are out there, they're telling us, you know, I'm enjoying this job because I'm helping the people. They put in lots of extra effort to make sure that we had that crossing to Cree Court. The crusher had shut down. They started digging up whatever they could find and filling that in and made access available to us. Now, Kiowa Crossing and Creek Crossing, those will be interrupted occasionally because we are continuing to work. The river has to be set up to one side while we work on the other side, and then we have to reroute the river to the other side while we finish it. So there'll be work going on. Be patient with it, but we've got access at least part-time. Let's see. Work remaining. Well, let me go back first. The other thing we've been doing, we've been working very closely with Carl because some of the road crossings, or the river crossings for the water lines are going right where we're putting our temporary crossings. So while the equipment is there, we've been sharing manpower and we've been working together to get those, get at least the what's the word I want, Carl? The casings. We're getting casings in so we can run the water lines under the road. It'll be a while, but we're working on it. Work remaining, we need to get we're trying to get the road smoothed. To get the road smooth is going to require between 20 and 40 tons of additional road-based material. We've got washouts still to fill, another probably 20 tons of materials. We've still got snow poles and snow fences to put up for the winter. We'll be getting on that soon. We've got culverts that we need to clean, and even before we do that, we need to update our inventory on the status of our culverts. There are going to be private culverts that are where your driveways come out to the roads. Those are the individual family or the property owner's responsibility. We'll work with you on those. We'll basically do it at cost, but we'll work with you on those. We've got equipment repairs we still need to make. We've got a little bit of work to get our plows ready. And then, as I'd already mentioned, removing the trees and the debris along the rivers to protect our temporary crossings. Very quickly, budget. Just our annual budget, about $53,000. $48,000 of those dollars come from you, the homeowners, in real estate taxes. We've got fixed costs, insurance, accounting fees, runs about $7,000. Every year we try to carry over an extra $5,000 as emergency funds. That leaves us $41,000 a year to maintain our roads. That includes material, labor, equipment, and maintenance. Our emergency fund, including this year's budget, added another $19,000. When we look at what remains for the rest of the year, negative balance, about $8,000. At this point, we're not sure where that's going to come from. I heard some good news tonight about the FEMA support for us. We'll see where we go from there. And finally, our status as a board, we are a GID number 2, General Improvement District, or a PID, Public Improvement District. Our road board is an advisory board to the county. The county actually manages our money. We do our own budgeting also, of course. We serve at their as they wish. The county owns our roads and our bridges. We maintain, well, the county maintains the expanded sections of Deer, Kiowa, and Apache. We, the Pinewood Springs Road Board, we maintain the other 14 miles. We're a little bit unique in Larimer County. We're the only road board, essentially, that has their own equipment and does all of their own maintenance. Not all of it, most of our own maintenance, which served us very well this year with the flood. You know, we were very isolated for an extended period of time. Dan and some of the helpers were out there on the first day of the flooding, and we were patching the roads along with just everybody else who just jumped on board and did their own thing. I think it's about time for me to leave. You all seen pictures. Maybe we can go through those pictures real quickly. I love this picture. Picture, can you go roll back? Yeah. That's a crew getting that casing moved and getting ready to put it into the river, under the river. The rest of the pictures are up there kind of a reminder of some of the things that people have done and a reminder of what it was like 6 or 7 weeks ago. Thank you.
We're running a little bit over, so we're going to get to water. But before that, I wanted to make sure you guys all knew there was a lot of information tonight, a lot of websites, phone numbers flying around. One of the things that we arranged, thanks to Brian Donnell right here from the town of Lyons, he's actually been recording this entire thing, and it's patched through to the sound system, and it's actually going to be up on YouTube in a couple days. So don't feel like you have to memorize all of this. So with that, let's hear about water. Gabby?
Someone saw me earlier this evening and they said, "Oh, Gabby, I didn't recognize you because your eyes aren't black anymore." So the first picture here is the water treatment plant and our pump station at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning, the 12th. And this is before the flood crest and before Big Elk lost their dams. Both our treatment plant and our pump station on the right, were flooded and damaged, and we lost a lot of equipment inside. So far, we've cleaned the basement, removed the drywall and the wet insulation, and got it to where it's operational again. Access to both buildings was destroyed. Couldn't get in, couldn't get to the pump station. Carl has gone in with his backhoe and established kind of a temporary access at this time. We have 2 filtration units. Unit number 1 was damaged. Unit number 2 was not operational. Carl worked on it, got it working again, and as of October the 12th, I believe, he started pumping water. However, with just 1 filtration unit, we're only able to manufacture 17,000 gallons of water a day. Normal usage in Pinewood is 30,000 gallons. So until we get that second unit in, we're severely handicapped with the amount of water that we can produce. Our heating system was damaged. Carl went down to Walmart and bought a new one. No, we repaired the heating system. The gallery, the picture on the left, is the cement embankment down in the river where the water is taken from the river. There was pumps there, there was a vault, concrete wings. All of that was buried and destroyed, except for that one little piece you see there. And we lost all the piping to the pump station as well. The raw water intake was damaged, and the pumping vault had problems as well. We haven't worked on that at all, but we did recover the line and cleaned up around the building. The electrical panel inside the pump station was damaged. That has not been repaired yet. The backwash pond was totally destroyed. Carl has gone in and dug out and set the grade for the backwash pond, and it's now functioning. We lost a side yard and a compressor that was on a trailer and a chemical tank. The shot on the right is our compressor bobbing around in the water. Carl found it about a mile downriver, what was left of it. So far, we've purchased a replacement compressor, we've cleaned the tank, and it's functioning once again, and we've graded a new side yard where we stored some of our piping and things. The aeration system in the reservoir was damaged, destroyed. We have a new one in place and it's functioning. We've also checked the raw water line from the reservoir to the treatment plant, and that is working. 4 pipelines that ran across the river were damaged and destroyed. They serviced about 60 households. We've requested bids on replacing those, and we've only received one bid in the amount of $600,000. We feel that's a bit steep, and we're trying to find someone else to help us replace that. In the meantime, Blade Works has agreed to try and help with 2 of the lines, and that still leaves 2 others that need repair. The access road to high zone tanks was washed out, and we've repaired that. Most of everyone's driveway looks like the slide on the right. The 3-phase power to the treatment plant is not functioning, and we probably won't repair that until we repair the damage to the pump station. The other details that we've accomplished is we have an engineering estimate of the total damage and started the process of obtaining permits, and at this time we have obtained our 404 permit to cross the river. We've done site tours with the engineer, the contractor, and the road contractor about the river pipeline crossings and the cost. And the good news is that Carl and crew, and thanks, by the way, to everybody that volunteered down at the treatment plant, Steve Fitzgerald, Vic Mutzi, of course, is an employee, Rich Toriano. I think half the neighborhood was down there helping Carl clear debris and wanting to do some work, so we thank you very much. But we're halfway. We're halfway across the river with the help of Blade Works at the Kiowa crossing, but water's still a long way out, I think. Carl's estimate was maybe 2-3 weeks for just the Kiowa area, and then Cree and Seneca will follow. So that's all I have, and I'm sure there are burning questions out there that I didn't answer. Anyone? You have water. It has been past all the health tests, and it's just limited because until we get back into full production, we're not going to be able to meet the 30,000 gallons daily basis. Yes, Charlie? We have engineer hired. He's coming tomorrow to take a look, and he's started buying. We've written him a check for part of the amount. He started buying parts. His estimate, of course, it depends on how damaged it is, and we won't know until he looks at it, but I believe his estimate is possibly a week to 10 days. Carl? Yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. A week to 10 days. Hopefully, yes.
The treatment capability will be fully functional.
Okay. Over here. For Crescent Lake. The dam at Crescent Lake, well, Crescent Lake was a diversion. Water would run into it, would run out of it. We don't believe we can put the dam back. That's to be determined. We're not sure it can be put back in. We would like to take the area where the river has jumped the bank and took Crescent Lake over and maybe landscape around it and make it. It's being made deeper now by the easement that we signed with Larimer County to take materials out of the Crescent Lake area. If you haven't, have you seen it lately? It's quite a deep hole. And we're hoping that it can still be a diversion with water running into the deep hole and then out at the other end. So it would have some recreation appeal to it with, as far as maybe swimming and kayaking and that sort of thing. Anybody else over here? FEMA explained to us that our insurance comes first, and what our insurance won't cover, then FEMA will take a look at it to see if they can cover it. And they will only pay 75% of what's left. So. Yes? If you're going back right now, we'd like to request 3,000 gallons a month, because with only half of the capability to make water, you know, you can't use your 6,000 right now. Anybody else? Back row.
Anywhere from a month till sometime till we get froze out.
Did you hear? A month or until it's too cold and starts freezing. I'm sorry? Seneca.
All of the areas, it depends on whether we can find someone to, you know, the easiest one to do was the Kiowa crossing, mainly because Blade Works had diverted the river. So to do the one on Cree and to do the one on Seneca, they're gonna have to dam the river, pump around the area that we need to dig across to get us across. So it's probably a little more than we're capable of doing in-house.
Could everyone hear that? Yeah. Anything else? Thank you all for coming this evening.
Hey, folks, one more thing before we dismiss. If there's one thing I've learned over the last 7 weeks, it turns out that one of the most important things we can have is information. And as you all know, there's been a lot of different kinds of information out there over the last month or two. And so before you leave tonight, we just wanted to take a minute and recognize someone who has provided us with information and connection and all sorts of things. Laura.
And this is also a card that most everyone signed tonight, thanking her for keeping the Facebook and webpage up to date. We would be stranded without her.
All right. Thanks to Laura for all that. For everybody that's looked at the Facebook page or the website, just keep doing that. The information's going to keep coming.
That's right.
And we're all dismissed tonight. Thank you for coming.